You're still watching Breakfast Central on this bright and beautiful morning. And of course, bringing to you our top stories. We're still discussing May Day celebration. That's Workers' Day celebration, which was the 1st of May 2023. Now, still in the spirit of celebrating Workers' Day, the Nigerian Labour Congress has asked for a fresh retirement age for civil servants in the country. The NLC president, Joe Ajaero, made the call during the 2023 Workers' Day celebration on Monday in Abuja. Ajaero also called for a general review of core civil servant salaries to narrow the gap between other civil servants' emoluments and those in other segments of the public service.
Now, he said that the extension of years of service should go around as it had been done in other sectors of the public service in the country. Only a few other establishments, including the core civil service, are now left out. Also adding that the union had, over the years, demanded salary review, but had yet to receive the federal government's attention. And of course, these are all, some of the feedback from the Workers' Day or the Labor Day yesterday here in Nigeria, and of course, in other parts of the continent and of the country. But does how many people, or rather, do a lot of people agree with Joe Ajaero? And sides agree, and the Nigerian government also needs to. And it's one of the things that I mentioned earlier. Can the government afford, a salary increment? Can it afford, an increment of retirement age? Can it also, afford to, have an adjusted minimum wage? Omoyele Sowore, one of the presidential aspirants, also mentioned that the Nigeria's minimum wage should increase from 100,000, or should be about 100,000 to 250,000.
Yeah.
Can the government afford it? The answer is yes. If we're being serious, the Nigerian government can afford it. Can afford.
But will they do it instantly?
So it's not if they will do it. When I say they can afford it, if they truly were serious about minimizing and reducing government wastage, if they were serious about blocking the leakages in government and the amount of ways that the Nigerian government's income just disappears, we will be able to afford a lot more if we reduce the amount of money that we used for a lot of things that were really just depleting the funds of the country. If we, of course, stopped paying subsidy on petrol, would save a lot more money.
Yeah.
There's many ways that the Nigerian government, if it was a serious government, if we were able to invest properly in agriculture and increase the amount of foreign exchange that we get from agriculture, from information technology and some of all of that, we can't afford it. But
I think it was just yesterday we were talking about outsourcing some things that should be done in Nigeria to foreign bodies, and that would definitely cost us much more.
Yeah. So yes, there should be a stronger conversation. But unfortunately, and this one I would always say it, when we have conversations with people, because the current government is out of power in 28 days, 29, 28 days. And so there should have been proper conversations with aspirants, to understand who has this level of interest for the Nigerian worker, who will be willing to increase the retirement age of the Nigerian worker, who believes that the Nigerian worker should have a high retirement age. Those are things that they should have, spoken about. But, we didn't get to have a lot of those conversations. We can only refer to their manifesto and say, okay, this is what the manifesto says here or there. But we'll see. Now, let's move to the southern part of the country, where angry youths drawn from the eastern Obolo local government area of Akwa Ibom State on Saturday took to the streets to protest plans by the state government to remap the state. A quick reminder that the bill is titled State Map Establishment Bill, passed by the state legislature, is now awaiting Governor Udom Emmanuel's assent. The bill had sparked protests, a pocket of protest rather, by youths from other local government areas of Obolo and Ibeno in the state, who have expressed resentment over the bill and vowed that it would not sail through. The youths generally expressed, their anger and spread charms along the road, and occasionally gulped dry gin and beer. I'm not sure how that, affects the bill. Displaying placards of various inscriptions. Now, joining us is Courage Mbon, who's a journalist and media consultant. Good morning, Mr. Mbon. Thanks for joining us.
A very good morning to you, and thanks for having me.
Of course, I would like to first of all start by asking the effect of gulping gin and beer, in protest. How effective is that in changing the government's plans?
Okay, first of all, you must understand that there are dialectic and ethnic significances to things that people do during protest. And so in the course of making agitations people want to do relevant acts that are relevant to their ethnic leanings and all of that. For instance, do you ask, your elderly ones why they pour dry gin and alcohol on the ground and call it incantations? Do ancient or do ancestors actually wake up to drink those things? So these are just a representations of their ethnic leanings and all of that. So it's just relevant, I think, to. And remember that these people are riverine areas who do not joke with alcohol. It's not. If you look at it very closely, most of them wake up under very moist and humid climatic
conditions, and so they start
conditions.
The day, they start
and
the
so
day
in
with,
the morning,
with a shot of...
I at some point in my career, I did a report, about Eastern Obolo, in fact, that coastal, area of Akwa Ibom State, and I had to stay there for 1 week. And you are speaking to someone at 6:30 a.m. because he's going to go into the water, once daybreak. He needs to, go and check on his nets and all of that. 5:30, 6 a.m. He's already drunk. He's talking to you and you can perceive alcohol coming. No, you can make sense of what he's saying because they've taken these substances over time.
And they're they're used to it.
They're used to it. And I spoke with one of them and asked them, why do you guys take this thing this early in the day? And he says, courage, I'm going to take you one day, to come with us to the water. I went with him, I threw up in the water over 5 times, so I understood with them. So these are just basically activities and things that are consistent with their geographical habitats.
Let's now move into the discussion proper, and get lessons to kickstart the conversation.
I mean, Courage, we're seeing that the youth are protesting the remapping. For those who do not understand, what exactly is this remapping about?
Okay, Blessing. First of all, the House of Assembly, the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, acting on Section 8, Sub 4A to B of the Nigerian Constitution, set out. Of course, that provision of that Constitution says that I think it just has to do with asking, the remapping of areas, remapping of states, of the state, and all of that. So acting on the provisions of that Constitution, I think I can just read some of the provisions of that Constitution out if you have the time for it. A bill for a law of a House of Assembly for the purpose of boundary adjustment of any existing local government shall only be passed if the request for that boundary adjustment is supported by 2/3 majority of the House of Assembly, members of the Assembly representing the area demanding the area demanding and the area affected by the adjustment and all of that and all that legal jargons. First of all, let me say here, that you don't need to be, a student of law to see that those provisions are very incoherent. But again, also, it's safe for us to note that the House of Assembly is made of representations from all parts of the state. And so if the State House of Assembly is making a law, it is assumed that the representatives of these communities, of these local government areas, go back to their people, communicate in clear terms the provision of this new law to their people. And so their people would come back to town. I mean, yes, the representatives will come back to Uyo, which is the state capital, to sit and make these laws. But unfortunately, that is just the ideal situation. In the reality, most times representatives, once they are elected, hardly hold meetings, they hardly hold engagements with the constituents. And so you find laws that are being made, and these laws are inconsistent with the yearnings and agitations of the people of these communities. And so in Akwa Ibom State, what you are just seeing is a typical representation of the gap that exists between the legislature and the people. I have not had because the law has just been sent to the governor. We've not had assent yet, and so it's not been made public officially yet. And so most of these people who are, protesting the remapping of Akwa Ibom State are doing so on
All right. Well, we may have very brief connection issues there, but he is making a really strong point. That before some of these decisions were taken or these bills were sent in the State House of Assembly, there are representatives of those regions there, and so they were either quiet while these things were taking place, or they
Just
are
boundaries of my farmland.
okay.
It is only normal for me to be agitated when you come and say, "Oh, this place you buried your father. This place your grandfather was buried. We want to adjust the boundary of this community." It is only normal for people, members of these communities, to be agitated. They want to know, am I going to sleep in my house today, in my local government in Ibesikpo, and wake up tomorrow in another person's local government? And remember that members of these coastal communities are still, the wounds of the Bakassi, remapping, are still fresh in their memories. Most of our people, from Baka, in these coastal regions, are actually refugees right now, because they had to be shifted down from Bakassi. When the remapping was done, and Bakassi, they woke up one morning and they were told that Bakassi, which is the ancestral homeland, belongs to Cameroon.
Yeah.
And guess what happens? Once this happens, the owners of the land come to your land, where you have always known to be your land, and tell you, look, this place now belongs to so and so place. And so you become a refugee automatically in your homeland.
Courage. Let's also hear, from the government side, because I've also read some articles concerning this, and I see that one of the excuses is that Akwa Ibom State doesn't have a regional map. There's that, and then someone also mentioned that this would end border disputes. So these are some of the excuses that have been shared. So can you quickly respond to any both of them? That Akwa Ibom doesn't have an original map, and what's the reason the government is given?
Yeah, the reasons you've put forward are the reasons. The government, when you say the government, basically I think it's just the House of Assembly right now, because the state governor made a remark at an event, which was a prayer event he holds, and all of that. The state governor, His Excellency Mr. Udom Emmanuel, made that remark that Akwa Ibom does not have an original map, and that's contestable if you want to look at it, because I don't think there's an area in Nigeria that doesn't have a map, so that is contestable. But again, too, we must not also lose sight of the fact that what he also said about, border disputes are actually true. There are areas in Akwa Ibom State that you cannot farm in that area, because these people, although they belong to the same ethnic groups, although they speak the same languages, in most cases, but some of these people have been demarcated. They say, okay, you belong to this local government, these other people belong to this local government. By that sheer act of demarcation, there are disputes between these brethren. I permit me to call them so. So that is actually true. These disputes exist. But like I said, these excuses are contestable, because when you look at it very closely, you see that when you, as a government or the House of Assembly, because in this case it is the House of Assembly doing this remapping, have you effectively communicated to your constituents, members of the Assembly now, that this is done in your best interest? I saw also, I don't know if you've also seen that the paramount rulers of all local governments in Akwa Ibom State went together,
Yes, I saw that article also.
And they endorsed that remapping. Now that shows that the government could actually be acting in the best interest of the people.
But then again, some people are saying that stakeholders and community leaders were not consulted.
So this is the point. This is my argument. Constituents have not been carried along, to the best of my knowledge. These people, House of Assembly members, have not gone back, which is part of their constitutional responsibilities, to inform their constituents that this is what we're doing, and we're doing it in your best interest. When you carry a child to go and give injection at immunization, you see that child kicks, that child cries. Why is the child crying? The child doesn't understand that the pain that you're inflicting on me at this point is supposed to prevent me from being crippled in the future. So if that child were to be of age and cognitive reasoning, you will be able to tell the child, oh, endure this pain for a few moments, because it will prevent you from having crisis in the future. And so these youths are of age. These constituents are of age. The representatives should, as a matter of urgency, go back before this law is signed. Already it's already late because people are already in the streets. People are already protesting. They do not know what the future holds for them. You are telling them, I'm going to adjust your boundaries. If I live in a boundary area, I would be worried.
All right,
if I've
final question.
money building a house in a boundary area, I would be worried.
All right, just a quick question before we wrap up. There's also the insinuations that this is, might be done because of the new Petroleum Industry Act, and of course, to make some communities oil-producing states or something like that. Is there any truth to this? If you can take this in 1 minute.
Like I said, until the new map is made public, we can only speculate. Do you understand? Until this new map, issues of boundary adjustment. I come from a rural community, and I'm well in touch with my community. So issues of boundary adjustments have never been peaceful anywhere. Even if it is families, the day you want to divide land or share lands amongst the children, that is the day you would know the true character of those children. You would see this one say, oh, why is he getting this? Why is he getting this? All that we are saying right now are speculations. We have not seen, the new map has not been made public. In fact, yesterday on social media, the people made mock maps, showing the local government that the governor comes from, which is Ona, being larger than all other local governments. In fact, it took the entire coastal region of Akwa Ibom state. So these are some of the issues that people are complaining about. Some people are saying, hey, you want to cede some of our lands to the governor's local government, so that the governor's local government can also be an oil-producing community and all of that. These are mere speculations. We cannot comment on this map until we see it, which is what I keep saying. This map should have been made public. People should have made inputs. People should have been consulted. You should have spoken to people and said, oh, is this... because, at the end of the day, the onus rests on the government to decide where the boundary lies.
All right.
At the end of the day.
Absolutely.
But these people should have still been consulted. The map should have been made public.
All right. We of course, we would continue to follow up the story, and we hope that the Akwa Ibom State government and governor, rather, listens to the voices of the people and hears what their opinions are on some of all of these and does the right thing. Thanks for your time. We'd love to speak with you again, and have a great day ahead.
You too. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.